I am very happy to introduce Seema Kohli. As everybody, I think here we have 100 participants, it's full house, and some people probably are outside and cannot come in. And I presume this overwhelming appreciation come for the theme that is going to be used. And Seema has been a prolific painter and artist in all the range since more than 30 years. And she has been very interested in everything that has to do with women energy. And she has expressed that in paintings, sculptures, installations, and poetry. And when we were doing this meeting together, the five of us, we started to talk about Hariti because Seema was doing a painting of Hariti. And everyone was giving the images, and we were talking what Anamika was telling about the, the linguistic, how Hariti came to be, the word, and so on. And in one moment, Seema showed us her painting, and we were all so fascinated that I take up what Anamika said. Oh, Seema, when you paint, you take the idea of Hariti to a higher level. And here we are going to share with Seema the higher levels of Hariti. So please, Seema.
I am here today now to discuss Hariti as a painter, as an artist, because an artist process is very different. It is of a researcher. Nowhere it lacks any kind of research, but research is in a very subconscious way. Everything is being embedded in our mind, and you don't know when that thing is going to open up and come out. In fact, when I was doing this painting, I'd like to talk a little about Hariti, how this painting came about. When I was going to start about this painting, I didn't know it was Hariti. I started with the waters on the base. I will also now start sharing the screen and showing you. The women started coming. The first thing that came was the turtle. And then the women started emerging. And when I counted them, there were 6. And the tree had emerged as Kartikeya. It was a very unusual thing for me. And I was wondering, and this was during the lockdown, this was during the pandemic. I really didn't know what was emerging out of it. It was just continuing. And I will build up the story as it goes, so you would know the process, how the different narratives, these different stories, they just keep on seeping into everyone's mind. This is not only an artist's mind, this is everyone's mind, into which these stories, these narratives, these myths, these historic facts, these traditions, culture, and archetypes, whatever you may call it. But they keep settling down. And as you sit down to paint, it is very easy to say, well, painting is like a meditation. But if you are really probing and opening up your conscious mind, going through the layers to the subconscious and to the unconscious, you will find a lot of material, a lot of data, which is emerging, which is constantly emerging. And now I will start with the story of Hariti, how I came to know her. So mythology is present in our present existence. I feel mythology is not something which is just a story. It is presence glorified. It is absolute. When we look into the present as past, it is glorified. And that is when the mythologies, that is when the stories and the narratives take place. There is no present without a past, as there is no tree without roots. The present is just a past renewed. I have pervaded sky and earth. I gave birth to the Father on the head of this world. My womb is in the waters within the ocean. From there, I spread out over all creatures and touched the very sky from the crown of my head. I am the one who blows like the wind, embracing all creatures beyond the sky, beyond this earth. So much have I become in my greatness. So this is from Rig Veda. This is not what I have written. This is a translation which I read just a few days back. And I said, oh my God, this is Hariti. So this is how she came into my painting. My mythical women have long symbolized fecundity, strength, and creative germination. In my most recent work, I engage with the leitmotif of femininity to chronicle stories of healing, nurturing, and salvation. As a visual artist whose art practice explores the intrinsic feminine form and energy, I have been fascinated by Mother Goddess. I first came across Hariti and Panchika. Now, Panchika is a concert at the Wubi Sanctuary in Bali. I'd gone there with my children to visit this on actually an excursion. And we were staying at this resort. And as I entered the meditation room, I saw the images of these two. I didn't know who they were. I thought it was Kali because that is what I am familiar with. You know, that kind of an image sort of reflects Kali, but I was told that one is Panchika and one is Hariti. And that was my first introduction. I went up and hugged her. This was the second introduction to Hariti, which was at a very ancient temple. It's called Goa Gajja temple in Bali. It is very close to the space where we were living. And again, I met her there. There is something about this face which is so happy. There is a fierceness, but there is a lot of happiness. And till then, I had no history about her. I also encountered the Hariti at the famous Hariti living temple in Nepal, at the Swayambhunath temple, where devotees approach her for a variety of reasons associated with childbirth, fertility, and curing and protecting children. She looks after all kinds of epidemics. Hariti is the tutelary grandmother, goddess of Nivari midwives, the Nivari dies, and healers, and is considered a form of Ajima. Now there is another story, how Hariti kept on coming to my life and kept on visiting me. So I must express over here that my friendship with Janet and proximity with her work and research has also been very crucial in understanding Hariti and other goddesses, healing goddesses, and these kind of her research and my work. Sometimes I would show her my work before even finishing it, and we would discuss over a cup of coffee in Khan Market, like what she has written and what I have drawn, or probably discussing how to go about it. My contemporary rendering of Hariti, which I will share with you today, stems out of rich history of form, iconography, beliefs, and stories associated with Hariti and birthing goddesses over thousands of years. Now, this image that you see in front of you is of Hariti, the goddess of fertility, with children all over her, and Panchika or Kuber, what he was known as later, the god of wealth. This is a sculpture of 2nd or 3rd century AD in Peshawar Museum. So this was, Hariti was very well known all over the subcontinent, the Indic belt. And so this image I have taken from the Peshawar Museum. Now, who is Hariti as I see? Let me briefly share with you who Hariti is. Though today the worship of Goddess Hariti is rarely observed in India, the cult of Hariti was especially important during the 1st century BC as a consort of Panchika, the Yaksha, and later Kubera, the god of wealth, belonged to the ancient Indic Yaksha and Yakshi cult. The Yakshas are the nature spirits associated with fertility and prosperity. Now, I never knew, I was all the time, the people I was painting on my canvases, the flying images, they were the Yakshas and not only the Gandharvas. Here we see Kuber with Lakshmi and Hariti. As we all know, Lakshmi is supposed to be Kuber's sister. Now the relationships are very fluid. And here we see Hariti, the wife, Hariti is responsible for fertility, and Lakshmi is the goddess of not only wealth, but lot many more things. She's supposed to be the Ashtalakshmi. And Kuber is also the protector of Lakshmi and the god of wealth. According to the Buddhist legends, Hariti was a powerful ogress and a child-eating demoness. The name Hariti itself reflects harna, like to snatch, to steal, to capture, or something like that. And it was believed that she had hundreds of children. They say 500, I don't know, they could be only 5, but many children, who she loved, but she would devour other children in the city of Rajgir, which is in Bihar. It is a historic city in south of Bihar where Buddha gave his earliest lessons. And I think the first Buddhist council was also held there. So she was constantly picking up children and feeding them to her own children, as there were so many. Some texts give account of her previous birth to explain her behavior. As I said earlier, everything is in continuation. Everything is in a cycle and probably a wheel, as somebody asked earlier also. So when Hariti or Hunashi, she was called Hunashi in her previous birth, as she was known, was pregnant. She was made to dance by a few people, and as a result, she miscarried. Enraged with the loss of her unborn child, she vowed to cannibalize the children of Rajgir. Hariti is even said to have the power to cause epidemics such as smallpox, and that's why how we know that she can cure it. Her power and capacity to do harm evoke tremendous fear and attempts to pacify her through worship and sacrificial offerings, which were commonly practiced. With the spread of Buddhism, a rationalist religion, the popular cult of Hariti was brought within the fold by creating a relationship of subordination. Buddhist narratives tell us that in order to make Hariti mend her ways, Buddha hid Hariti's youngest son under his begging bowl. A distraught Hariti realized the grief she must have caused hundreds of mothers by her demonic behavior. She converted to Buddhism, and Buddha, in return, ensured her that her children would always be well fed. She would never go hungry. And once she stops devouring the others' children, and it was a complete 180 degrees kind of change in her, and the same kind of demonic behavior changed into completely benevolent, loving, and giving mother. Now we have seen these changes happen due to a guru, a margadarshi, a saint. In all our traditional stories, Angulimar we have heard so many, and the same way, even Hariti changed her ways. And even till date, I've heard that most of the Buddhist sanctuaries have her painting a sculpture of her sitting with her children very happily, either in the kitchen area or the dining area, where she sees everyone eating to their content and happy. No one goes unfed, even in any monastery. And that's what, it is not her children, her 5 children or 500 children that she's thinking about. She's thinking about the complete humanity here. So Hariti was firmly entrenched in Buddhism, and when Chinese monk Yi Ying visited India in the 7th century, we found that Hariti was worshipped by monks and devotees in Buddhist monasteries. Her widespread popularity is partially due to her association with protection from smallpox in setting of smallpox epidemics. Countless Gandharva and Mathura sculptures of Hariti in Buddhist monasteries, refectories have been found. Hariti sculptures have been excavated from most major monastic sites across South Asia, including Mathura in UP, Ratnagiri in Odisha, Saran in Bihar, Rajshahi in Bangladesh, and I saw her in Ajanta, in Aurangabad, and Ellora in Maharashtra. As well, we go down to the Andhra belt, we can see her everywhere.